But that's what I want you to realize is that you have to have a level of clarity in the way you communicate so you can have successful relationships professionally and personally. Because if you cannot do that, if you cannot uplevel your communication skills and regulate yourself, regulate the way you react to certain emotions that you're feeling when things are being said to you or when you get in certain conversations, then it's going to be very hard for you to be clear on whether or not you're being direct or just being reactive to what's being said to you. Because when we let emotions affect the way we communicate, that's when we cross into the realm of being disrespectful and a level of communication. And that's what you need to be careful about. So, and if you're watching on any of these platforms that I have on, go ahead and subscribe, follow, add as a friend, whatever it is, and just do your thing because I would love to connect with you afterwards. So this is one of the topics I wrote about last night. I was up late just writing and thinking and jotting my thoughts down, and just communication is really something that's valuable to me as I do work as a communication and outreach lead for for an entity as well. So that's something that I've been very clear on, and that's helped me in my business is understanding communications and understanding how to communicate better cross culturally, and making sure that people have an understanding or understand what's being communicated to them, and being sure that I am very clear and direct in the way I communicate. And the other thing a lot of people don't know, I majored in biology. I don't know about you, when you're writing science reports, a lot of them, they're really data focused and straight to the point, not full of jargon, because I strongly dislike reading anything that has so much jargon that I'm like, you could have just said, use a fork, not use this eating instrument with three prongs that I can stab my food with and put in my mouth. No, just say I'm going to use a fork to eat, right? Because in some of the reports will, and some people even talk like that in real life, where they try to use certain words that make what they're trying to say sound so unreachable and so fancy that people are losing the meaning just by communicating with that person. And it's just like reading a legal document. Sometimes you read some reports and some legal documents, and they're so full of jargon, it takes you forever to understand or you don't understand it. Some industries, they do that on purpose because then they want to just make sure it covers a lot, but they don't want people to understand, right? So they're not clear. Some industries do that on purpose. But is that how you want to communicate in your business, in your company, in your organization? I doubt it. Like, you need to have something in plain language that your team members, your board members, people on your staff can understand and react to in a way that makes sense. Because if you are not clear in how you communicate, then again, you're wasting people's time and your time. So you need to be very mindful of the level of clarity and the way you communicate and interact with people, because that level of clarity will save you time, energy, and relationships. Because if you don't have that down pat, then you're going to wake up maybe 5 months from now and realize that some relationships that you had just fell on the wayside. Okay, so definitely think about that. Definitely think about how you can improve your communication skills and how you can be more direct in the way you communicate without having to use jargon or without having to be disrespectful, because you don't have to curse to get your point across. Sometimes you can get your point across with just being direct. It does not mean that you have to drop F-bombs or anything to get your point across. It's just a matter of just stating certain facts and just saying what you mean. Say what you mean and mean what you say, right? And again, if you are on Facebook or TikTok or Substack, go ahead and follow, subscribe to my channel or wherever you are. So we can do that. And Substack, I forgot to record for like 15 minutes. So I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay. And again, if you're here, let me know you're here. This is my first time using Live Studio on my desktop for TikTok. So if you're on here, go ahead and say something so I can figure out how this bad boy works. Okay. All right. So yeah. So we know like the lack of clarity with communication is just wasting my time, confusion, wasting your time. And expectations can be mismanaged a lot when you do that. So you have to be very mindful of how clear your communication style can be as a leader. And I've talked about why some people that are direct are labeled as mean. Again, it's not a them problem. It's the person that's receiving the message. That's the problem they have because of the way that they process information. Because the way you process information that's being given to you is not my responsibility, right? Because then I can tell you that the sky is blue, but because I didn't tell you by saying, hey, Jane, I really think the sky is blue. What are your thoughts? So if I say the sky is blue to you, that's me being mean to you because I didn't say it the way you wanted. So some people need to learn to regulate themselves and understand that sometimes it's not the delivery, it's the way you perceive things and how you make things personal. So I know I've been saying this for 2 years, but you got to mind your business sometimes. So just know you work on your delivery, you work on your communication style as a leader, you work on your level of clarity in your communication skills as a leader to ensure that you're able to communicate effectively with your team, with your staff, even with people in your house. Okay. Because that level of communication, that level of directness, and the way you approach people, what it does for you, it gives you the opportunity to craft like documentation and standard operating procedures that have a level of clarity that you may not have had. And it helps you see it in a different way because what happens in this case is that now you're going to read these standard operating procedures in a different lens where you're like, okay, this is just fluff. I don't need all of this. Just next. Or this is how I would say it for people to understand. So it does help you too if you cut the fluff out and just say what you mean because nobody needs the extra fluff when you are trying to get your point across or coming up with documentation to help and support your team and your business. Okay. And a lot of people are not used to folks being upfront with them or not used to a level of clarity. Some people are used to the jargon because they worked in industries that everything, I mean everything was a circle. Like they had to run around in circles before they got an answer to anything, right? So, and sometimes people like they take your tone because then I can be serious as a heart attack right now. They take that personally. Some people will take that personally because then I'll have a straight face and look at you and just tell you what I want or what I need to tell you. And then you think because I'm being serious, it's an attack to you, like you take that personally. No, it's not personal. I'm telling you what it is I need to tell you because I'm about business right now. We're talking business. So I'm going to be serious with you. I'm not playing around. And some people are used to that, where they're used to folks laughing and trying to sugarcoat things instead of being like upfront about certain things, right? And some folks, their nervous system interprets directness, right, as a threat. I've met quite a few people in 2025 that take that as a threat, where just me being direct with them or just telling them what it is, they take that as a threat. And that's okay. And that's none of my business. And I'm not going to make it my business because I can't control the way you react to what's being said to you. Hey, Valerie, because that is not something I can control. And clarity is going to feel harsh only when people are not used to honesty. And last year, I will say last year because that was just a few weeks ago that we stepped into 2026. But in 2025, I made it a thing to network a lot and meet different people, right? And one thing, a theme that I noticed, because I'm going to be 100% transparent right now. So I've been going through a divorce since September of 2024. So 2025 was a year of rebuilding my social network and rebuilding my social life and even my business network, right? Because me and my ex, we had some of the same circles business wise and professional. So just rebuilding that. And a theme that I noticed last year was that some people were saying, you are very direct and very honest, and I'm not used to that. And some people just said that. And some folks, I know one person that I met, she shared a grievance with me and I told her your feelings are valid and we talked about it. And I did not tell her she was overreacting because she's not. She's it's her right to feel that way. And she told me that's the first time somebody even like listened to her or had that conversation with her and did not ostracize her for speaking her mind. I'm like, no, I'm not going to ostracize you for speaking your mind. If that's the way you feel, okay, let's talk about it. And once we're done talking about it, we're moving on because that's the way I process things and communicate with people about things. So that was a level of communication she was not used to. And that kind of showed me that a lot of people are not used to that level of clarity and that communication style. So you have to develop that skill within yourself as a leader, but also be mindful that a lot of people are not used to it. So train people how to treat you. If you want to be more direct in the way you speak, you need to be consistent with it. And when people get offended, you need to be able to stop them like, hey, let's back up right now. Can you tell me a little bit more about how why you're reacting this way or whatever? Try to figure out what's going on or tell them, hey, let's revisit this tomorrow. Because sometimes, I'll be honest, I'm human. And sometimes people approach me and they're not getting the good side. They're not going to get the good side of me if I let 2 minutes go by. Because, have you ever seen the post that you don't know how if to give them your professional side or your hood side? A lot of people tend to forget just because I grew up in Haiti, y'all. Okay, I grew up in Haiti and I am very blunt and very honest when it comes to what's going through my mind. So sometimes I have to take a break. Like, hey, let's just revisit this because, again, you grow. As an adult, you learn how to communicate better with people. And that's one skill I had to learn to take a break and pause and just make sure that when I am being clear and direct with people, I'm not doing it with malicious, like with any kind of meanness or whatever on the back end. It's just to say what is there, what's not, and to be curious about how that person is feeling, the thoughts that person expresses, so we can actually have a constructive conversation. So, yeah, it does not have to be what you think it is. You just have to be able to let go of what you can't control. And you cannot control the way the other person feels about what you say. Never. You cannot. And you cannot control how that person receives your message, but you can control the way you deliver the message. Okay. So really think about that because you don't have to be aggressive in the way you talk. You don't have to be hostile, but you also have to be mindful that some people take honesty and directness as aggression, as hostility. I don't know if you've heard of the angry Black woman. No, if I'm setting a boundary and just being direct, some people will think I'm angry. But again, I have to be able to analyze what they're talking about because it took me a while to realize that a lot of folks had a problem with the way I delivered things because they wanted to be coddled. And one person even said, and I just laughed in a Facebook group, I don't like your tone. Get off the internet then, because I don't have to change my tone for you. Because I don't see you telling anybody that, because I don't like your tone either. And you're dismissing what I'm saying because you want to shove your ideology down my throat. I said what I said. Now, it's my page. You're welcome to leave. Because I wasn't trying, I didn't ask for your opinion. Because sometimes you can open the floor and ask people, like, I'm talking about my Facebook page now. Sometimes you post things and you communicate your thoughts, right? And let's say you have a business and this is your process. This is how you do things within your business. But you'll, once in a while, you have people that come on your page and they want to tell you how to do your job. So why you on a page? You don't have to be there. Because then certain times I'll go in groups and share what my process and framework is. And then if people want to communicate about that, sure, be curious. But don't come on here and tell me I need to change my thought process. No, I don't need to. Don't tell me what to do. I'm the most stubborn mule you'll ever meet. But I'll consider it if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, you gotta go. You gotta go and you gotta be blocked. Because I'm not gonna have a conversation with someone who just wants to be right. And that's the other thing. You have to be able to evaluate whether or not you just want to be right or if you have boundaries that people are crossing and you're not letting them cross those boundaries. Okay. Now, you shouldn't be talking down to people, right? You shouldn't be intentionally rude because sometimes I know some people can be intentionally rude and try to disrespect y'all. Don't be reactive because then communication is none of these things. Because then be clear in the way you communicate, but you don't have to be rude or nasty, right? You don't. So if you develop that skill, it will improve your role as a leader of your business, of your company, of your organization. So definitely look at these things as traits that you need to develop, right? Because clear expectations, what it will do for your business, for your organization, it will help prevent burnout. Because if you're able to communicate what's needed within your organization, hey, we have this project and the grantor is asking us to have about 3,000 conversations by the end of 2026. This is what I expect monthly. Let's make sure we knock on 200 doors every 3 weeks and things like that. And this is where we should be by the end of 2026. And this is how we're going to do it. So there needs to be a clear communication and clear expectations that's lined up. It's not suggestive. Because a lot of times I see people, they try to make suggestions because they don't want to offend. No, be clear in what you want and what you're trying to accomplish. If you want your team to come up with the way this is going to operate or the system for this particular project, then ask them, okay, we need an action plan. We need to develop an action plan to make sure we implement this program. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? And then at the end of this meeting, these things need to be documented and disseminated in a clear way where everybody has expectations and they're being kept accountable. There needs to be a system for that. Okay, so expectations always need to be clear. And you need to always communicate directly so you can improve the execution of the work that your team is doing. So really, we have to realize that it all boils down to communication. Even your relationship with your partner boils down to communication. If you guys are horrible at communicating with one another, there's always going to be some issues in the relationship itself. So communication is really the cornerstone of many things, professional and personal, because it establishes the level of clarity that you need to ensure that the relationships that you have grow. They become sustainable, whether it's your business growing, your organization, or your marriage getting better, your relationship getting better, whatever it is, communication matters because it helps you develop a level of clarity, which helps you build trust. Okay. In your team, in your business or organization, they shouldn't have to be guessing what you meant in that meeting. They should already understand or have information of what's expected because you were clear as to what you needed and by when. Okay. And sometimes clarity requires courage. That's why I'm asking you as a leader to step up because you need the courage to speak up sometimes. You need to have courage to be misunderstood because some people will misunderstand what you're saying, but realize that it's none of your business. People misunderstand you because they want to misunderstand you. Say what you mean what you say. And be clear as to what you want. And you need to have the courage to set boundaries in your personal and professional life so people know what they're not going to get away with. Okay. And you need to have the courage to be able to tell the truth. Tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to work with you. That's the truth. You have to have the courage to say that. Now, when I started as an entrepreneur, like in 2020, like February 2020, it was hard for me to turn clients away because I did not feel comfortable saying no and not taking the job. Because I'm like, I've been praying to get more clients. Now more clients are coming. Now I'm turning them away. That doesn't feel right. So I would say yes to jobs I didn't even want to do and started feeling overwhelmed and burned out. So you need to have the courage to start telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. No, I don't want to work with you, and that's the truth. And stick on it, stick by it. Because I had a potential client, I remember in 2020. Man, I had about 3 weeks worth of meetings with this person. 3 weeks. And at one point, I realized this person was giving me the runaround and they wanted to lowball me, right? And I don't know what it was because I had a counterpart where they were being offered more. I'm like, listen, we don't have to work together. And I said it. That was the first person I turned away. That person was upset, but that was okay. I slept better. Okay. And you also have to have the courage to not over explain. If you say no, no is no. Okay. Don't feel like you have to over explain everything and tell people why you're making a decision. You don't have to. You don't owe anybody an explanation. Unless that person you've been with them for 20 years and they ask you for an explanation, you don't owe nobody an explanation. So don't fret about that. Do what you need to do and communicate what you need to communicate. Be very upfront. Okay. So anyways, clarity doesn't require extra words. It is what it is. Okay. And that's the message I made today. I read it last night, but it posted today about how communication is very important and it's a skill. It's a leadership skill. So go ahead and read it on my Substack. If you're on TikTok, I don't have my Substack link on there, but if you want it, go ahead and send me a DM and I'll send you the Substack link so you can subscribe. If you are on Facebook, just let me know in the comments. Say Substack in the comments, and I'll paste it in the comments. And Substack, you're already on Substack. Just go ahead and click the subscribe button and subscribe to my Substack. And that's it on my end, folks. I am going to go ahead and turn these bad boys off. TikTok, have an amazing rest of your evening. And thank you for being here. Bye, everyone. Okay, so TikTok. And I'm gonna end Substack. Bye, Substack.